Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guitar of the Day. I'm your host, Michael Lemo, and today is Thumpin' Thursday with my boy, Greg Coates. Whoa, and there's the bass of the day. That's the earliest we've ever done it. Also, we have a show this Saturday.
Yes.
We are playing Molly Malone's at 9 p.m. Thanks to Greg. Thanks, Greg, for setting up our first show of 2021.
Oh,
yes.
Someone's got to rock. It's time to rock.
It's time to rock. It's time to...
It's time to go.
It's time for people to hear this album live.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Very
I'm
cool.
super stoked.
We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to knock that place.
So come join us, please.
Come join us. And either message Jen or go on Molly Malone's website.
Yep.
All right, so what do we got? Today we have a 1982 Gibson Victory bass.
This is really cool.
And Greg loves this one.
This is a really great bass. I think it's, and I know many people will disagree with me, but this is Gibson's really modern take on the bass, and they really needed to do this at the time. In 1982, it was like last year production in Kalamazoo, Michigan, my hometown. But they needed to do this to kind of keep up with how music was changing, and after all the 70s and the P basses selling and jazz basses, and they just weren't really making a dent in the market at that time. Like Fender was just ruling it, and then Music Man came out and stuff like that. And this was made basically their version of a Fender, bolt-on neck, 4-in-line tuners, long scale, which is really nice and accurate and in tune. Wide, like 60s style spacing, like early 62, like Fender P bass kind of spacing. Brass nut, which is a cool remnant of the brass obsession of the 70s. Angled head, cool. But still the angled headstock that Gibson used, so it had really good. It has a really great resonance, super even from string to string to string. Schaller made Gibson stamp bridge. This one has I think low impedance pickup, but it's got a series and parallel switch. Forward towards the neck is parallel, which is kind of a brighter, kind of more like a jazz bass sound. Series being kind of more of a blown out, beefier, kind of P bass, kind of chunkier sound. Volume, and then this actually has an aftermarket stacked volume, stacked treble and bass preamp in here. So this has a ridiculous amount of variation of tone and range than what you'd find in a normal single pickup guitar or bass. Be able to get EQ'd versions of like really bright piano string sound, a version of either the series or parallel sounds, and straight up dub if you slam the bottom end up. It's crazy how much air this thing moves. It's a really great bass.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And you can pretty much basically play any kind of music with this, because you can literally pull any tone, any very Fenderish kind of tone out of it, and it has that kind of growl that the Gibsons still do as well. It's got some mid-range to it that you don't always hear in a lot of comparable Fenders. So very cool bass. The only gold one I've ever seen. I've seen them in red sparkle, green sparkle, and black, I think, but I've never seen one in gold. And it has all the really cool checking, kind of the green, the green part, just antique. The kind of things that happen with the Gibson gold finishes. It's just such a cool instrument, and the fact that it's a bolt-on it has a sound. Definitely, you'll notice a sound difference between bolt-ons and neck through or set neck basses in particular. I think this has a lot more attack to the note, whereas set neck instruments like traditional Gibsons or dovetail necks will have more of a smoothness and maybe evenness. But this is a great culmination of years of Gibson making basses that maybe weren't as popular as Fenders for the most part. Let's just face it, Fender pretty much set the standard for obvious reasons. But this is a really great version of all the things that led up to Gibson's modern design. And it's such a killer bass, and it's priced amazingly well. I know there's a few fans of this bass out there. There's not a lot of these, but if you have been looking for one, this one is in pristine condition as far as playability goes. The neck structure is great, and it just plays insanely well and super even from string to string to string. I had a great time playing it.
I have to say, I always notice this bass on the wall. And finally, Greg's picking it up. So
yes.
It's so cool. It's a looker, and it's got a really cool tone, too. But I just think it's for somebody who is doing something a little different.
Yeah,
in a good way.
It's got a thing. It's got a thing. Not all basses have a thing. This does.
Yeah.
And it's really flexible tone wise. It's something you wouldn't expect out of a single pickup bass, and it balances nice too because the scale length and everything. I mean, it's a heavy instrument.
It is pretty heavy.
The hardware alone weighs probably a good few pounds between the tuners and the bridge. Is a massive chunk of brass, but it balances out really nice. It's got a really comfortable profile, and it's just I think just a better thought out Gibson bass than anything
and
else
it's cool that they put the dot inlays on the higher part of the fretboard.
Yeah, closer to the player. It's cool. They
really cool stuff going on there.
Yeah, it was pretty forward-thinking time for them regarding their bass instruments anyway. It was right before they moved to Nashville, so it was definitely a transitional.
It's a different place.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it out front and see what we can do.
This thing's awesome.
And see you Saturday.
Woo!
Hey everybody, this is Greg Coates here at Norm's Rare Guitars. I'm here with a 1982 Gibson Victory bass. Really cool. I've never seen a gold one before. I've seen the red sparkle, I've seen the green sparkle, I've seen the black one. Never seen a gold one, and it's in great shape. Even the neck's painted gold too.
So cool.
It's got the cool green patina coming through there. It looks like 1982, like last year of Gibson production in Kalamazoo, Michigan, my hometown. So this is really cool. It's basically their version of a bolt-on like P-bass style instrument that I was told that Rick Turner from Alembic and Renaissance Basses and Guitars helped develop this, and we had to fight tooth and nail to get it done apparently. This has been modified a little bit. It has a switch here that goes between parallel and series, which is really cool. It's something I use quite often, so I kind of gravitated towards this instrument. It's pretty cool to be able to get a couple different tones with a single pickup. And it's got a volume, but this one's actually been modified. This has a non-stock active treble and bass control here that has quite a punch. I don't know what type it is. It may be Bartolini, might be Aguilar. I don't know. We'd have to pop it open to see. Gibson had Schaller make them these bridges, these really heavy-duty bell brass bridges, chrome plating. Really nice Schaller made gears here as well. Gibson stamped, brass nut. So some remnants of the '70s brass hardware craze. But this bass sounds absolutely massive. And I just one of those instruments I saw just walking around here and thought it needed to be exposed to all of you out there. It's in my opinion, the best thing Gibson ever did as far as a bass goes. It definitely works. It's got the scale length correct, in my opinion, and because it's a very familiar and contoured and easy access. 24 frets on the G string, a couple different tones with one single pickup, and this one has the added bonus of having the active treble and bass control, which is really cool. So it's got a very kind of familiar kind of P-bass kind of sound. Pretty huge. That's in the parallel setting, so it's kind of a brighter sound. You put it back in series, switch it away from the neck, and it's even more burly sounding. Active EQ flat. So if you want to get a little more clarity of that, you got the top, the high frequency control mounted on the top. The bottom one's the bass control. I'm going to kick up a little bit of top end here. So it's got all those tones you can get for some. So like really clear, kind of gritty finger style playing. Switch with a series in parallel, you get all these different EQ'd versions of each of those sounds too. So even for a simple setup, it has a lot of variation in sound, and it plays super comfortably. It has a neck profile that's somewhat like a early '60s, with the rosewood. Really nice straight grain piece of rosewood on here too. I don't believe this is Brazilian, but it might be. It might be the tail end of their stock before they quit using it. But a really nice piece of rosewood nonetheless. It's a side, and it has the dot markers along the bass side, which is kind of cool. A little variation on kind of the Fender design. Better bridge than Gibson ever did on any of their other basses. And but it's got some really great range, and the playability. It has that wide flat feel of the late '50s, early '60s kind of feel that Fender did. So. Play a little bit more here, see if we can get a couple different tones out of here. This is with the active bass all the way off and the active treble all the way up. little bit, kick up the bottom end. Output, and it gets a massive range of tones. It's seriously just, I think, shook something loose.
I know, I can feel it.
But it's got a lot of point to the note, a lot of clarity. The series and parallel switch is a great way to get a couple different voicings of the single pickup. Super comfortable to play, really quick neck. Frets are in great shape. It's been played a little bit. It's definitely priced to sell, and it's a really unique color. I've never seen one in this color before. If you got your Vegas show gig, you know, it'd be a great thing for that. It's very gold and very sparkly, really cool. The addition of the aftermarket active EQ, treble and bass is really helpful in sculpting out the wide range of tones with the series and parallel switch even. Great bridge, no dead spots, massive air moving, like really precise sounding instrument. In my opinion, probably the best thing Gibson ever did with a bass. Really up to date and really modern and well thought out. And it has that bolt-on neck kind of bonk that you don't get out of set neck basses. It has that attack a very good friend of mine would describe as the bowling ball bass sound. Like if you take a bowling ball and throw it up in the lane, it goes clunk with this huge wooden like impact. That's what this kind of bass sounds like, or what bolt-ons sound like. And it's a very different sounding Gibson bass. Yeah, I love it. It's really cool. I've always liked these, and it was cool to have such a unique one hanging out here. If you want a unique sounding Gibson bass, come on down to Norm's and check this out before it's gone.
Thanks, Greg.
You bet. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
That was great.